10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, welcome everyone. Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Thanks to you for being here. I'm grateful to be here myself. It's always an interesting morning. There's always so much to troubleshoot on the fly and technology. You know, to learn all kinds of things about technology, and definitely today is no different because it's we still have technology. And we need apps, and we need programs, and we need software, and we need iPads, and we need laptops, and we need desktops, and we need mixers, and we need microphones, and we need adapters, and the internet. We need internet too. So, and the list goes on and on and on. We need power, all kinds of things. We need the radio aspect of things. We need the social media aspect of things to work. There's just so many variables and so many things involved in broadcasting this show. And so I'm just grateful for the miracle that takes place each and every time we're able to broadcast in the morning, and it actually goes ahead, which is, 99.9% of the time we're able to get this thing going. And so at the same time, this is, that's our part of the formula, and then your part of the formula is basically to take part in the show and to participate by commenting, and we'll see if we got our comments ready to go today on the show. Hopefully, looks like we should. It just looks a little different. There's some type of positive looking things on here where it says it's actually connected, where before it didn't, but it doesn't look as good as it usually does when we do have comments. So there is something different about the way it looks. So we still might not be able to have comments coming on the screen today, but that doesn't mean you can't comment and I can't follow your comments and mention them on the show and still have you part of this conversation that is Sudbury News Talk, talking about events, issues, things that are important to us about our community. And we're coming at you on CKLU 96.7 FM, Sudbury's campus and community radio station, been around since 1984. And here's Erica. Good morning, and thanks for saying good morning so that we know we can get our comments up on the screen. So that makes me feel a lot better, because I just feel that's a way to acknowledge the people that are part of the conversation in the morning on the show. And I'm just grateful when things work. So thanks, Erica, and good morning. So CKLU is Sudbury's campus community radio station. It functions basically on donations from the community and volunteer hours, and that's basically what we are doing this morning. Also included in that is getting everything on social media, and so all of those that make social media possible, including the major social media outlets out there, Facebook and YouTube. Thank you very much. We're also getting started on Twitter and LinkedIn, and so you can find us there as well. We're not spending as much time, Instagram as well, but we're not spending too much time on those platforms simply because it just takes a lot of time. It takes tons of time. I'm going to have to switch my internet where it is because it's extremely slow. There you go. And so hopefully we're still on CKLU, and that's not going to make too much of a glitch, but it's the only thing we can do in order to follow your comments as they come in. So again, Jerome, good morning. Thanks for being here. You're definitely a stalwart listener and viewer, and we appreciate you being here each and every morning, and Julia as well. So we're starting to grow our little community of those of us that want to start our morning off with a conversation about what's going on in our great community and try and make our community better as much as we possibly can. And someone who definitely wants to do that and has been a part of the show from the beginning is with us this morning and is possibly back on more of a regular schedule. So I'd like to welcome Billy with me this morning. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, Aaron. Nice to be back. Thanks.
It's great to have you back. I know you've been very busy at your job.
Busy September.
It is, yes.
It's usually that way, though.
It is,
a little bump in September, and pushes the shell, and now I've got a little bit of breathing room for hopefully 11 months.
Yeah, exactly. And isn't it interesting, how everything is cyclical like that, right? And it's not just because you're, part of the education system where you're working, but it's September by and large, because even if we're not working in the education system, a lot of us have children and they're going back to school, and summer is kind of winding down, and people going to the cottage or the camp, that's kind of like, okay, it's still okay, nice weather and stuff. But we're getting ready for winter basically. And the leisure, I guess the aspect or the idea of leisure is like in the past, in the recent past. Am I right on that? Or not?
I think you're right on the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like almost like a socio-cultural phenomenon. Probably every September around the world, that's the case for people.
Yeah, and try to get a hold of somebody in Sudbury in the summer. Like if you're busy, you're starting a business, or you're doing renovations, or you're busy in the summer and you need to get a hold of people in the summer, good luck trying to get a hold of them, because they're very hard to get a hold of. Have you noticed that as well?
Is that well, it's definitely a big Sudbury thing. I think even more so with all the everyone's got a camp up here.
Yes.
So everyone kind of heads out to camp on the weekend, except for me.
Except for you. Yeah, but at the same...
I'm always around. Just give me a shout.
Well, we basically live at what some people might view as a camp-like kind of atmosphere. Other than the train, that's very close in proximity to the property we live on. But at the same time, people close to you and things live almost like in their regular setting in camp-like, settings too, right? Rural. We're more live in rural settings, near water, things like that. And so, I don't know. Don't you think that it's almost like I don't think I need a camp in this.
That's a good point. And there's like a story of the the financial guy and the Wall Street guy gets like 2 weeks off, and he goes to the beach in Fiji and kind of explains the guy's life to the local, and he's like, I got this job and I can take 2 weeks off and come lie on the beach, and 2 weeks a year. And the local's like, I lie on this beach every day of the year.
Exactly. I think a lot of us fantasize of, living constantly in some type of tropical, atmosphere like that. Like a friend of mine once said, a homeless person on the beach in Malibu or whatever has a better life than I have, because just doesn't really need much. You can, the temperature is always perfect. You got the beach there all the time. You got everything you need. You just don't really need much.
Yeah.
And very simple life.
Yeah.
But
it's tough to simplify your life to that point, though.
It is. But we live where we live. It is what it is. And so, speaking of that, and speaking of the conditions, not only we're going to talk about a little bit of weather first of all, then we're going to get into, things. Big day yesterday was interesting. Certain mysterious cloud covered Sudbury, and it kind of went viral. There was a lot of people talking about that, and we'll talk about that after, along with all the news headlines. So strap in, buckle up. It's going to be a great show this morning. And CKLU and Facebook and YouTube Live. We'll be right back after this weather update. And your weather for today, currently, it's 4 degrees and there's mist. If you haven't noticed, there's been mist pretty much every morning lately, and heavy mist. In Espanola, it was like a mysterious mist the other day. It was kind of dark mist. It was on half of the town, and it was very recognizable that where the line was. And you'd think to yourself, if you woke up within this mist, it was just fog. And so, but when the mysterious kind of halfway through Espanola of this wall of mist, and it was kind of dark, and if you looked at it from a distance, it looked rather unnatural and very odd. You start to question, well, what is that? Is that fog, or is that pollution? Because there is a plant right there, and it didn't seem to be coming from the plant. It just seemed to be coming from somewhere else, and you looked over and the plant had its own stuff going on, and it's like, wait a minute, here, there's just too many questions about what I'm seeing. It just doesn't make any sense. But so I don't know if you're noticing some of those things as well. I've been. So with that, the humidity is currently 99%. And today's mainly sunny, fog patches dissipating. This morning, the high will be 20 degrees, the UV index 5 or moderate. Tonight, partly cloudy, fog patches developing overnight, a low of 10. And then Wednesday is clearing. Fog patches, as talked about already, will be dissipating in the morning. Wind becoming southwest, 20 kilometers in the morning. The high will be again 20 degrees. So relatively warm days and cool nights. That's what we're experiencing currently. UV index is 4 or moderate. And then the long range forecast, Wednesday again, partly cloudy, partly sunny, high of 20. Then they're forecasting rain, periods of rain on Thursday. 30% chance of showers on Friday, and Saturday and Sunday forecasting the normal mix of sun and cloud, 8 degrees to 12 degrees for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I don't know, I didn't get our new look at the satellite here updated, but I just updated it now. And as you can see, it's just a mixed bag of a mixed bag of clouds and clearing over northern Ontario, and not even sure where they get this feed from. If you know of where there's a really good satellite feed that's very current and very clear that we'd be able to use on the show, you can just send me a link of that if you're aware of one. But this is the only one I was able to find so far from Environment Canada, and but it gives you some idea, anyways, of what it looks like over northern Ontario. We'll be back with some mysterious cloud cover over Sudbury yesterday and northern Ontario, or Espanola as well, and some of the news headlines from yesterday, I guess. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, well, welcome back. That was your weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca, which is part of our Sudbury.news website, newly revamped from Nick, so we're grateful for him for doing that. So, Billy, I don't know, you're the one that pointed it out to me yesterday, late night when we were chatting, that you said, did you notice all of the social media in Sudbury talking about these odd cloud formations yesterday? It started off totally clear. I remember there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was the bluest, pristine skies you could ever see or want. And then all of a sudden, what started being shared on Facebook that you noticed?
Well, I just got to say, this summer has been one of the bluest sky summers I've seen in a while. Like days of just not a cloud in the sky. But yeah, there was one of those, some days have a really big sort of grid pattern of lines in the sky and I guess the issue, which is a very contentious kind of issue, is that whether or not these are just, the contrails of airline traffic. But what seems to be the difference between the contrails and these is if you watch these or capture them with photography, you notice they don't dissipate the way contrails do. they actually kind of enlarge and spread out, and eventually they appear to become cloud cover, which, again, I don't think is that much of a phenomenon in, countries where geoengineering is much more open. Ironically, China is more open with their geoengineering than here in North America. But that's there's definitely I think a case to be made that is in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, because I know this isn't new. Like, there's so many days I've looked up over my head, and this is what I've seen, is what you're seeing in your lower third of the screen. If you're watching, if you're listening on Facebook, basically you're used to seeing like lines from airplanes going across the sky, and when they fly by, they basically stay in the air. And if you had time on your hands, which a lot of us don't, we're gone to work, we're busy with our lives. If you had time to just watch them, and have you ever seen those sped up videos, Billy, where
time lapse, yeah, and they show like over a city, and they'll show the planes going by with the con or chemtrails, depending on which side of the issue you're on. After a while, the con or chemtrail just stays there and starts expanding, and eventually you don't even notice it's a trail anymore. It basically looks like a cloud. It's a cloud. Mm-hmm. It just kind of covers the sky in cloud cover, and they all join together. Am I right on this, or am I off? Oh yeah, that's exactly how it works.
So I'm just showing different pictures. So we're all used to seeing skies like this, I think.
It's a very old technology.
Yeah.
That was, my dad was a meteorologist, and he was going to conferences on this in the 70s. And even, was it the Vietnam War? I think Operation Popeye, one of those, it was just like used in warfare. They just had this one pass that, the enemy was trying to go through, and they would just continually make it rain to make this section mucky, and that's, this is not mysterious conspiracy theory. It's very, in the public record.
Yeah.
So it's like, have they really put away this technology or not?
Yeah. Climate control, right? Like they're able to, seed clouds to make it rain and things like that. And they're able to kind of disperse clouds. They're able to actually manipulate weather. Mm-hmm. They're able to take the weather and manipulate it in different ways, shapes and forms. And this is one of the ways they do it. They spray a certain chemical in the sky, it reacts, and it does certain things, whether it keeps it sunny or it creates clouds. I think even recently in the Summer Olympics in China, they admitted they used it for the opening ceremonies so that it wouldn't rain. Yeah,
it got public notoriety there, I guess.
Yeah. So Julie is saying she was outside 11 p.m. last night, and 3 of the lines were still visible from the morning. So that's odd. Yeah, I would say so too. So that's that. I think that I'm sharing the pictures right now just to give credit where they come from. It's Shout Out Sudbury Uncut is where I guess at some point I joined the group. I must have, because it came up on my feed this morning. And the fact that it's coming up on my feed, do you find that a little bit odd too, Billy? Because I don't know if in the past these types of things, although shared, would be shared by the social media companies. If I'm right, it seemed like they would kind of be not shared. They would be kind of censored and things, and they wouldn't be as shared. But it seemed like yesterday it was like everyone was sharing them, and it was going all over social media.
Yeah, times might be changing. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways.
I will say there is a really good BBC documentary that is kind of like the cornerstone of my sort of like looking into this, which is called Dimming the Sun. And it is basically the effects. It doesn't use the word chemtrail at all, but it basically replaces it with airline exhaust and says the effect that this is having on the world. And it's chock full of very, very good science, very, what they show you the science, and it's it doesn't seem like this sort of corporate science shell game kind of stuff. But there's definitely some kind of effect that it appears to have on the weather, on the amount of sun that gets through. So dimming the sun, BBC Nova.
For sure. And I've also
It's on
heard
YouTube.
And it is very scientific. I think a lot of scientists have been talking about it for some time. And it is, according to a lot of scientists in this field, is a solution to climate change and global warming. They feel that if they can dim the sun, it will then cool the planet, because the sun is hot and the heat gets in. And once it gets in, and because of the gases of the earth, it kind of holds them in. So if they can stop that sunlight from happening in the first place, it will then, help the planet cool and not increase the temperature. And that was the story I've heard from scientists. If but then I hear people coming out and saying, no, it doesn't exist. And so either scientists are conspiracy theorists or they're just saying what they're doing. I also heard it talked about as aerosol spraying. I don't know if you heard that term as well.
Yeah. It's almost certainly, I shouldn't say almost certainly an aerosol spray, but that is largely associated with these things.
I guess Erica here is saying, wasn't the reason for it given by 311 that there was a lot of international flights yesterday?
Yeah, well, I don't know what else they would say. That sounds like a good answer for from a PR standpoint.
Would yesterday have been a more traveled day than most days? I don't know. Like Monday, October the 3rd, is that a very busy international day to travel? I don't know. Do you think that's like some kind of holiday and everyone's visiting family, or is there a reason for the influx of international travel?
The only thing I detected yesterday was there was a Mean Girls reference for October 3rd, which I didn't get because I'm not sure if I've seen that movie. But
Okay.
that seemed to be the
Interesting.
Prominent meme yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people were curious about it, and a lot of those that have noticed this little bit of history. The government had a program where they were going to do what we just basically talked about, check out this technology and see if it in fact can cool temperatures down in different locations and things like that. And oddly enough, where I'm working and where Billy grew up, near, Espanola was chosen as a test site for this way back in the 1980s. Even though the technology was around earlier, it wasn't used to go over populated areas so much, as they said, okay, what if we put it over populated areas and test the health of individuals and see if this aerosol we're using will in fact, impact the health negatively of the people living there. And so they chose Espanola. Why? Because there was certain smells and things and the look of pollution and whatever. Well, Espanola has the paper plant there. So, the people could just say, oh, it's just extra pollution from that. And if there was any smells or whatever, of course they wouldn't notice because of the smell that already comes from the mill. Eric also says, probably because no more ArriveCan app, everyone's able to travel to Canada. Yeah, that's possibly a reason for sure. I watch Fly Trader 24 because I'm under a flight path. International travel is frequent every day. Okay, so Julia noticed that yesterday wasn't pretty much any different in terms of international travel. So that's interesting. I would think so too. It wasn't any different yesterday as opposed to pretty much other days as well. So interesting that Sudbury is, just kind of talking about this right now. But back to the Espanola thing, back in the 80s, there was a reporter from the Sudbury Star who basically saw what was going on and exposed it and wrote about it. It wasn't supposed to. And as far as I know, he did get a visit from intel of some kind.
The authorities.
Some kind of authority came to visit him and said, you're not to write about this particular thing anymore. And I think that's where it ended. And he left Sudbury, but then continued to do that and writes books about it to this day. He's writing books and is a kind of an authority on the topic. And so basically launched his, I guess, career of being an expert in this. And so maybe tonight I'll find out his name if you don't know his name, eh, Billy?
No, I definitely heard of the guy.
Yeah. And so did a lot of people in Espanola. I've spoken to people in Espanola about it. And they said, oh, yeah, they know this particular gentleman, and he's gone on to speak at different conferences and things like that. And he's wrote a few books and has a website. So I'll have that for tomorrow. So that way you guys can look into it yourselves or whatever. So, yeah, so that's a headline for sure. Definitely didn't get into the mainstream headlines, but it definitely was in the social media headlines yesterday. It was being shared and talked about. So we'll be right back with more of Sudbury's headlines right after this. Okay, so as promised, we're going to get into some of Sudbury's headlines that are shared each and every day on our Sudbury News Facebook page. Just recently, Facebook has changed the outlay of our Facebook page. And so it's different. So congratulations, your page has changed. We have new things, new ways. And so I now have to take probably a month, 24/7 to learn the new improved Facebook and all the wonderful things that it has to offer and now how to use it. So hopefully it doesn't impede any of the things that we're trying to do here. But we can only hope. Let's see if I make the page bigger, if it helps sharing it. And no, it doesn't. So it doesn't help us in any way, shape, or form sharing the page. That's for darn sure.
Oh, you'll get there.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah. I think your headline at the top, we got some political stuff here. Surprise, surprise. Elections Ontario should investigate release of credit rating report. So that was not really as political, but do you know anything about that? Elections Ontario should investigate release of credit rating report.
Yeah, that's. I don't think that's the top one. Is that the first one on the bottom?
Well,
after?
I think that's the first one I have, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to find that.
Guess we all have different profiles, eh?
I don't know. Did you refresh?
Kind of catered.
Did you refresh the page?
Just
because
maybe 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So I'll have to find that story. And again, sorry for people with motion sickness when I'm going through the feed. Yesterday, I realized, I'm kind of scrolling down, and if somebody, gets leery about motion.
Oh, this was really cool. The LaSalle Secondary School raises $30,000 for fitness in Finlandia.
Okay.
But the thing that was really cool about that to me is they actually had a long-standing sort of relationship that started with kind of what do they call it? Letters back and forth, like
Yes.
a long time ago, where it would kind of connect the old with the young, and I thought that was a smart idea.
Yeah, LaSalle Secondary School raises $30,000 for fitness at Finlandia, which is so awesome. And together they, I really like seeing that. It's a really positive. That's why I shared the story, because it's just a positive news story for Sudbury, where the young, like you said, the young are helping out our seniors and our elders, which I think is a really a great thing that we can do a lot more of. And these are great examples of that, of really bridging that gap between the young and the old. Mm-hmm. So I guess they've had relationships built between the high school students and the residents.
2007.
That's so awesome.
With the launch of Intergenerational Memoirs Writing Program. Now that was...
That's cool. So they picked Finlandia probably, and as a high school, it's almost like adopt something or whatever. They're adopting. So one high school is adopting a specific long-term healthcare home, or were they doing that with multiple ones?
I think it was just this one is the impression that I get,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I kind of envision it, which is that they would go in and maybe, the seniors would sort of tell stories, their history and stuff, and the students would write it down. If that,
Yeah.
the memoirs writing program kind of indicates.
Cool. So let's see here if you know what? I think I apologize because you did have the top story, Billy. It's just because I'm tired.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, we don't really rate our stories top to bottom. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
meaning
it's the order that they get shared, right?
The latest one that was shared was Elections Ontario should investigate the release of credit rating report because they said we had a double A+ credit rating. And I guess they just didn't release the report along with it. And in there, let's just pick this apart a bit because we can. And well, now that's odd that it's just not loading. So whatever.
So one of the greatest
Here's what it
importance is the opening statement in the report. This
Okay.
report does not constitute a rating action. What do you suppose that means?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Does not constitute a rating action. So they're not really like a disclaimer. This is not really a
real report?
a recommendation of any sort.
No, Greater Sudburyans have now received election advertising bought and paid for with tax dollars. A Standard and Poor's Global report about the city's credit rating. So basically they're saying it's not a real credit rating. It's basically like a PR move to get this this firm to give us that credit rating. So of the greatest importance is the opening statement, like you said, of the report. This report does not constitute a rating action. I guess meaning it doesn't really hold water with banks or, it's not really a credit rating. It's just their, I guess, third-party view of what the credit rating should be. That is reinforced on page 6 of the report in the fine print, quote, "The content should not be relied on and is not a substitute for the skill, judgment, and experience of the user, its management, employees, advisors, and or clients when making investments or other business decisions." Ooh, wow. While S&P has obtained information from sources it believes to be reliable, S&P does not perform an audit and undertakes no duty of due diligences or independent verification of any information it receives. So it's not an official report. They didn't really delve into it. It's not supposed to be used as a credit rating. It's not used by banks. It's just basically a kind of bought and paid for credit rating, if you will. Since the report is not a credit rating action and none of the information it used has been audited or verified, of what use is the report? Why were tax dollars used to purchase this? And how much tax money was wasted on it? I think those are normal questions, no?
Those are some good points, yeah.
Yeah. More importantly, why are Mayor Brian Bigger and the CAO Ed Archer trying to pass this off at a time as a new credit rating action when the first line of the report states clearly that it is not? Okay, that's a good question as well. That's good reporting questions, as a reporter should ask.
That is.
As they are trying to falsely promote some incumbents as responsible, talented, competent managers of tax revenues. It seems so. Infrastructure and maintenance debts is recognized by this same company, S&P Global, in other jurisdictions. There is no indication of the massive more than $3 billion debt in Greater Sudbury being included in the information supplied to S&P by Greater Sudbury for this September 27th, 2022 report. Using this report can only be considered campaign propaganda that is trying to grossly mislead voters. Everyone involved needs to be investigated by Elections Ontario and possibly removed from office. That is by Thomas Price of Whitefish, who also, there is apparently a report about fire stations that Greater Sudbury did.
Yeah.
they're not releasing that until the end of the year about where money is allocated and why and which fire halls they're going to close. And I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff there that just the city is not releasing until after the election and later in the year. And I heard a lot of people are wondering why that report isn't released, but yet they go ahead and release this bought and paid for PR report that isn't even real as a kind of a campaign reason, propaganda type material, as this particular person is
Good question.
stating. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, these are questions people ask. And if you have any information on any of these issues or whatever, feel free to share it with us. So, missing. This person's been missing since September the 6th. So if you're able to see that small image, and I'm not able to make any bigger because we have a new Facebook page that works a lot different than the old one. And I just figured out how to make the other one the full screen so that way people can see it. Literally the next week, now I have to figure out another way to do that, but that's what I got to do. The person's name is Chelsea Tremblay. 22 years of age, 5'3", 120 pounds, medium build, bleach blonde hair, hazel eyes, and drives a dark colored 2013 Mitsubishi Lancer. Oh, and she's been found. Thanks, Natalie. Awesome. Well, it was just shared yesterday, for goodness sakes. She's been missing since September the 6th. And then now, the day after.
Maybe that share did it.
She's found. So that's good. Perfect. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Skills Ontario holding Day of the Girl event October 11th.
Yeah. Okay. It was said in the comments. I would have went there right after.
Oh, did you?
Well, I would have went down to the comments, and yeah, she's been found. Thank you. And that was, there's our new page. See, there's.
Hey, look at that. Pops up every time.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Every time it's
repetition
a new page.
is the key.
Yes. It wants me to verify I'm getting started so that I can agree to all of the terms and conditions. So where are we at now? Are we at Robert Kerwin?
Yeah, I've just been jumping around, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think this goes hand in hand with the way that these ideas are being rolled out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Natalie, for that. Appreciate it. Well, Robert Kerwin says tossing out experienced counselors is a bad idea. What do you think about that?
Well, I read some of that, and there is definitely things to consider about that.
Oh, okay.
You can't, a lot of historical cases where you've done this kind of thing and it ended up badly. Look at Mao in China, We'll get the peasants to rise up and take out the farmers, and you guys just work the farms.
Yeah.
Look what happened there.
Or look at, when new leaders, good leaders are installed instead of old ones. Like you take down someone like an Adolf Hitler, right? And you take them out of power, and then you can start something new. So just the fact that you're in there doesn't mean that was the best thing per se. It takes years of continuous hands-on involvement to be able to effectively represent your constituents. So would he have said that for his campaign to first get elected, do you think?
You talking to me?
Yeah, or
No,
people out there, anybody.
Well, I think that's why you have to weigh all these things. You can't just this idea good, this idea bad. It's like,
So
we gotta weigh. It's like, these people who are like, do we need to take out this, or is the value that they have going to be more necessary than the problems that maybe being in this situation too long can have.
I'm just wondering if we were to go back in time and take a time machine and go to pre-elected Robert Kerwin and say, Robert Kerwin, this is something you shared in the future. Do you think you should share it now before this election, that you think people who are already in should stay because they're experienced? What do you think he would say to that? A past Robert Kerwin before he got into council, just before he was about to run for city council. Do you think he would have the same point of view then?
Well, probably not as strong, but
Not as strong.
Well, that's kind of the way it goes. You have these, it's a reality that if you have an experience in things, you are going to have some advantages.
Yeah, sure. Maybe he would say the same thing. Don't elect me because I have no experience. And then now he wouldn't be in the future with experience. You know, that's interesting.
People need to be reminded of that fact too. Like whether or not it's true in this case, I think I get a sense that there's a pretty big, tide of people that just want a clean sweep. And I don't know, maybe that's good, but he brings up some good points.
Yeah, for sure. Many people who like to criticize city council, which would be Billy, just don't understand there's a world of difference between the municipal, provincial, and federal levels of government. And I was just kidding when I said you, Billy, because I think I criticize a lot. So that's me. People who like to criticize city council just don't understand. There's a world of difference between municipal, provincial, and federal levels of government. How does he know that? Does he know that I don't realize that there's a difference between municipal, provincial, and federal government? Does he know this? Because that's what he said. They just don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that, so he's right about me.
Yeah. I'm sure there's things he doesn't even realize. There's differences between those three, right? When you're elected to represent your ward on city council, you're selected to be part of a government's structure that deals with major policies, as well as unforeseen matters that arise monthly. There are no party lines to follow. In fact, there are 13 different parties on municipal council. That is a good point. That's true. Everyone has their own. And yes, they do also toe party lines. Ideologically, they do. I guarantee you. If you're NDP, follower of NDP provincially and federally, you make NDP type decisions when you're in that city council. If you are liberal, you make liberal type decisions. If you're conservative, you make conservative type decisions. Yes or no, Billy?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Agree.
Robert Kerwin does not agree with that. But you don't have the support of a party. You can't make excuses and say, well, my leader told me to say this. You can't do things like that. But ideologically, you hold those values and ethics dearly and you act upon those core beliefs. There's no doubt about it.
What do you think the ratio would be? Because it's obviously not 100%, but probably greater than 50% of the time, that would hold true. Would you agree that there's some kind of ratio to that?
I think so.
Yeah, it's like some people would, not go on this particular issue. And
for sure. At least like in federal politics or provincial, and you have an idea and you want to go out, your leader says, look, if you go out, we're going to ostracize you if you say your opinion, because you got to go with the message that the party has. Sure, there is that. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, you're right. So there is some leeway in there for sure. So I'll give him that. But Julia says he talks to us like we're a bunch of bithering idiots and cotton balls for brains. LOL. I don't know. I'm just reading the comment. You rely on the leader of your party to tell you what to do, but you're on your own. So yeah. So I guess anyone in provincial politics or federal politics, why do we need members of parliament? They just listen to their leader. Maybe we should just have leaders, according to Robert Kerwin, right? In federal and provincial politics, they just listen to their leaders. They don't have any say.
Yeah, I don't.
So really, they're redundant.
Well, that's kind of true.
Okay.
I mean, there is a lot of that, right? Like how often, like you just said, if the party says this, you go along with it. And if you don't, if you get out of line, you're going to get flicked away, Yeah.
Robert Kerwin is exposing some major flaws in our political system, nationally, provincially, and locally. When you're first elected to council, there's no guidebook to prepare you for what you will be facing at every meeting. Hey, that's a great idea. We should write a municipal councilor's guidebook that all municipal councilors around the world can be able to study.
It's kind of like life,
Yeah, parenting.
When I came into this world, it's like, why isn't there a book that is going to make this like
easier. Yeah. Well, there is one, but I guess there are several that claim to be that as well. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's like anything, right?
It didn't get into the details that I needed.
When you're first elected to council, there's no guidebook. As he said, you can try to be as prepared as possible by doing all the reading and personal research, but you will basically be required to learn through experience. It can take years before you feel sufficiently comfortable with your governance role on council. So all the years of Robert Kerwin being on council, he wasn't really representing very, very well because he was just learning. So really, there's no, there's no accountability either there.
You could look at this like a hockey team. You have a hockey captain. Sometimes there's a young captain. Sometimes there's a veteran captain.
Yeah.
And all of these arguments kind of hold true.
Yep.
You can make a case for both, where it's like sometimes the value of like this, someone new, fresh energy, this is what the team needs. Sometimes the experience, seeing the way things work, and that's what you need. So I think it's, different times call for different situations, measures.
Well, Natalie Labby, running for Ward 7, says he's right for Sudbury, but everywhere else gets training. Interesting there, too. To me, that would make sense, right? Like, why wouldn't you give training? Why wouldn't you have former councillors and, former mayors and maybe even people from other municipalities, pipe in on a conference call here and there quarterly or something and say, these are things we found, and here's some training about what you can do as a counselor in your area, maybe not, depends, and then, hey, there's some training. So yeah, to me, it doesn't seem all that far-fetched. She was elected to Manitowoc's council. The entire region went to Thunder Bay. And all of the regional community councils received a 3-day extensive training from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. So I guess there is some training. Lo and behold. Sudbury police are trying to identify a third pedestrian involved in a fatal collision. Have you heard that?
I did see that headline. I didn't go into the story. Is there more details I should be aware of? The
fatal collision on LaSalle. Do you remember when that day happened when there was an accident on Radar Road and on LaSalle? And
really?
Two fatalities in the same day. It was very interesting. There was accidents all over the place and 2 fatalities. Well, this particular, there was a woman that was killed, and they want to talk to a pedestrian that's found in the surveillance video, some kind of video,
right?
Which I guess is some type of surveillance. But anyways, in the video, and they have them circled, and this was shared from the SudburyStar.com. So if you want to check that out and you do recognize that person, or you are that person, they're looking for you because I guess they want to know some of the information that you might have seen in that accident. Probably go a long way to finding out the details, see who's responsible. So here's a little bit back to some more political conversations. It's definitely going to take some hard choices. Northeast candidates say no easy answers on infrastructure.
Now, I'm going to jump to another kind of correlated story.
Perfect.
Here,
Love
which
that.
is the $90 million that what should be done with the borrowed KED cash.
Perfect. I think that's perfect, yes. Because we are kind of running out of time, and I'm glad you jumped into that. So we could spend it on infrastructure. I mean, Sudbury does have a couple potholes we could probably fix, or do some preventative, maybe build our roads correctly, maybe dig down the right amount in order to prevent frost and heavage and big trucks and all that, impacting our roads. Maybe we can do that, so we don't have to keep fixing the roads constantly over and over and over. And it's a racket currently as it is, and maybe that would expose some of the corruption in where the money's going. But that is a question. They did borrow. Don't you think that's weird? They already borrowed the money for the KED, even though it wasn't 100% going ahead. Do you find that odd? Well, and now they turned it down. They got money that they borrowed. Why not give it back to the bank?
Well, I guess that's the first obvious question. It's like, could save yourself some interest there. But I think, like a lot of the candidates pointed out, the arena is not gonna stand just untouched. Like something's got to be done. New arena somewhere, or refurbish that one. Yeah. And I'd really like to see. I'm sure it's out there, but that's got to be a potentially financially lucrative. Having an arena, is that always going to be a loss leader for Sudbury?
No, it should be able to make money.
Should be able to.
Not much, but it should be able to be a moneymaker. It brings in money, and you should be able to have somebody name it a sponsor, so it would be called the Valet Arena or whatever, and they pay $250,000 a year for that naming right, and they're a sponsor, right? So every time we talk, let's Sudbury Wolves in action tonight at the Valet Arena, you're constantly Valet, Valet, Valet. It's just a way for them to show support for the community, and that's what other communities do. Yeah.
It's kind of too bad. I remember thinking how dystopian that was, like all the movies that were about the future from like the 80s where everything is sort of corporatized. Yep. And it's like, well, here we are. And they called it.
Well, and it is like, again, it's either coming out of your pocket, tax money, or you can get a corporate sponsor to do it. But I think what ends up happening is the optics of it, there's a corporate sponsor, but at the same time, where is our this is why we need an audit. And I know a lot of people are calling for an audit from the city to see where our money's actually going. Because let's say the city said, we're going to get a sponsor for a new arena, the Valet Arena. But meanwhile, we're giving Valet a really good deal. It's only costing them $10,000 when it should cost them $250,000. So, but taxpayers are paying for it. So that's the kind of things you got to watch out for, is called corporate welfare, correct?
Agreed.
Where the city works with the corporations to kind of make it look to the public like they are doing it responsibly and financially, sound. Whereas, the corporation gets all the benefits from it, but the taxpayers are paying for it. Mm-hmm. You got to watch that stuff. It needs to be transparent.
Yeah, and that's squeaky wheels get the grease, and that's why, the public has to be kind of informed and make noise about it when the deal is too bad.
Julie says, use the money sensibly. You guys are talking crazy talk. Yeah, it's true. It is. That is crazy talk. But yeah, no, it's there's so many issues here. Where is that borrowed money going to go? There's interest on the money. It's your tax money. If there's interest on the money, you need to get some kind of benefit from it. So here you're going to have a new council with all this borrowed money from the bank. All the tax dollars that still come in, and we talked about the labor, the money spent on labor in the city is 43% of our money goes to paying for salaries and benefits and anything to go along with employees, and that is so out of sync with any other community that there is. And there's a lot of Sudbury that's out of sync with any other community, and we should have so much here when we have so little. We should be driving on streets paved with nickel, at least. If they're not gold, they should be paved with nickel, for crying out loud.
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel. There you go. Man, that's the way it should be. Anyways, and unfortunately, we're out of time today because it is 8:29. So we got to really go quickly. And Earshot Daily's coming up on CKLU. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you all y'all for being here. I'm glad I got the comments up and running. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow on this great station, CKLU 96.7 FM, and also on Facebook and YouTube Live. Looking forward to being with you same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao, everyone.